It's a case of shh, shh, till the first one comes on board. Don't say anything. That's quite odd, that is. Sandra Miller! Told you! I told you it would be Sandra!
No, you didn't, you spanner. Tell your 45 somewhere else, laddie. Oh, that respect's in there.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Robert.
Hi, Duncan.
There is plenty to discuss today.
Oh,
My goodness me, we have a plethora of items and topics to discuss.
Before we do that, David, let's talk about last Thursday's video and the restrictions being slapped on it by YouTube and the censored UK press.
Yes, Jersey, people in Jersey, Guernsey, Isle of Man, and the rest of the United Kingdom cannot view the thing that was broadcast on the public broadcaster's TV screen, the BBC.
No, I'll take my back away with David. Let's explain. Right, David's just wrong about the places where Thursday's video cannot be watched. The reason behind it, David, is because we played a snippet of
the BBC advertising a programme called Dispatches that was going out on Channel 4, reference the state of the A&E departments in Nottinghamshire, or sorry, the east of England, let's say, okay? And they had an actor who actually made the movie under the proviso of being an ambulance driver.
Right, now,
but it didn't tell you he was an actor.
Let's sort this out for Thomas. Thomas, YouTube isn't any better. It's YouTube that's censored. There's no Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook is still available. YouTube, the video is not available in Guernsey, Jersey, the Channel Islands, and mainland UK.
No, let's also open this up further, right? YouTube were asked by someone to treat it under the copyright.
Because I've got a public service broadcaster, when I put something out into the domain, it's in the public domain, so there isn't any copyright.
That's right.
But last Thursday's video is not available to view on YouTube in the Channel Islands or on mainland UK. It's been restricted. If you're anywhere else in the world, and I know a few of you out there are,
yeah,
then you're still able to view Thursday's video. But apparently, when you tell the truth here in the UK, they don't really want to put there.
Right.
Right, a couple of other things. For those who can help Norrie at Caledon Media, he's got a fundraiser on the go. In fact, they've all got fundraisers on the go, haven't they? Well, you mean better to watch for you on YouTube. You on Facebook, really, you Thomas.
So anyway, wasn't it quite a to-do when Mr. Lineker said what he said or tweeted what he tweeted?
We'll get into that in a minute, man. Let's start up with the beginning of last week in the bill which banned a six.
You're not allowed to strike in this country. That's it. It's all over and done with. The Tory party have spoken. You are not allowed to strike in this country. If you go and strike, you're a bad person.
Yep. Definitely. So, anyway, so if you're in the transport industry, if you're a teacher, if you're a nurse, if you're borders control, all these things, they get to decide what you can, how many you can go and strike, if you can go and strike. You know. Thanks, John, the van driving legend, still a driving god, for that wee donation. So, obviously, David, this affects your wife. It could also be the reason why the teachers have settled.
You know, she's been busy over the past 3 months, making up banners to get on strike, and it's like she's so disappointed. She really is. And what she's doing is she's actually contacting the STUC right now to actually tell them to get their blooming fingers out their arses and blooming get everybody on strike. That's the way to deal with it. People numbers are the way to deal with this, right? If the government puts out legislation that you're not allowed to pick your nose and everybody has to pick their nose, then for goodness sake, everybody then needs to actually start picking their nose. It's the same with striking. If you're not allowed to go out and strike then the best way to overcome that is for everybody to go out and strike.
Yes. They're going to have to do something to show that they're not going to stand for this. But it's just another infringement on people's human rights.
Yes.
You know,
the thing that galls me is the fact that this is now becoming, I don't know how many dozen infringements on people's human rights I've heard about this year, right? And this is just another one. Why are we letting these people away with this? It should be that it's a straight case of, right, guys, you tease it.
Thanks,
you know, you're not doing it anymore. Thank you, Oz. You're not doing it anymore. And everybody gets on the strike. If everybody's just down tools and says, that's it, and then there's nothing the government can do about it. People power is where it's at.
We're going to need that people power, because I've seen us starting to shut down the commercial banks, so it looks like CBDCs are on their way.
Yeah.
And that's pretty serious stuff. One of the commercial banks which funds Silicon Valley in America has been shut down.
Yeah.
And anybody with more than $250,000 has lost $250,000.
Yeah, it seems that the fix that's been sorted out by the UK Treasury and the Bank of England over the weekend has been to actually purchase the bank in Silicon Valley. And the bank that they got to go and do that was HSBC, the Hang Seng Banking Corporation of Hong Kong, right? And sorry, carry on, David. You want to say something?
No, I'm just thanking David for the donation.
All right, yes, thank you. And the American set up the Reserve Bank. Their way of dealing it was to actually help support the people that have been investing in that bank.
Aye.
But it doesn't really. It only helps them up to a maximum of $200,000. Yeah, right. So, but it does not protect the shareholders or the directors of that bank. That's it. You know.
Fascism is on the march here in the UK. I did a video, as you know, on Saturday about this. The strike thing and we'll get the illegal or the making of the seeking asylum in the UK illegal is just two of the latest infringements on people's rights. I mean, it started, as you know, David, in 2012 when they got just after they got in, they started on the disabled.
Yeah.
And then moved on to Romano gypsies.
It's almost as if they went, we got away with that. Let's do another one.
Aye.
That's almost as if it is. And what they're needing is they're needing a bit of a shock, and that'll stop them. It's a bit like the Russians decide to actually take over a country next to them, right? We're not talking about the Ukraine war here. We're talking about, say, Russia wants to go in and take, for example, Georgia or Belarus, right? Okay. What they do is they move forward, and they'll keep moving forward until they actually get rough resistance, and then they stop. And that's where, and that's precisely the way the Tories are going to be until we stop them.
Exactly.
Until we give them a shock.
But we move on for the outlawing of the Romano gypsies, nomadic lives, and the Police Crimes Courts and Sentencing Act down that road. And also within that act, they more or less make public protest illegal. Now they've moved on to infringing people's rights to withdraw their labour, the right to strike. Gary Lineker is absolutely correct. Now we can go on to Lineker. He was 100% correct. This is very reminiscent of the 1930s in Germany. You know, very reminiscent of it. And you and I were discussing this earlier. Some of the language that's being used is right out of Mein Kampf. If you haven't read it, folks, swarm, you know, a invasion, tsunami. It's the othering of those who are not you. And as I said on Saturday, there's only one race, and that's the human race. And the minute we turn our backs on the least of us, then we've lost all that's left to that race, and that's our humanity. I mean, it's one of the reasons why we crowdfund for food banks. It's one of the reasons why the Indie 2 Cafe does what they do, raising money for those who have got harder life than us because it's our duty.
Yeah.
Never mind the religious push, right? It's our duty as humans to look after our brothers and sisters, because that's what they are.
Yeah, but looking at the other direction, why should you fight? Why should you fight? Very, very simple. It's all a matter of consequences. I had a good friend that ran a shop down in Teesside, okay? And what he'd do is he'd put out, I don't know if you've seen an A board. It's like, whatever, and it's chalk. You write on what your special deals are that day, right? And he used to get loads of business, loads of extra business every time he put that A board out, right? This wee guy for the council used to come down, get that away or we're going to take you to court, right? So what he'd do is he'd take it in. He'd have a look up and down the street and then he'd put it back out again, right? If the consequences are that you're going to get taken to court and fined and you're going to make a lot more than you're going to get fined by, then blooming go out and do it, right? And that's a question of consequences. The consequences to you of actually fighting the Tories, so long as you're not going to get a knife or a gun and start killing people, right? There is nothing wrong with that. And so long as enough of you do it, they can't do a thing about it. There aren't enough prisons. There aren't enough police. There aren't enough of anything to actually deal with the people of this country or England or Wales or Northern Ireland. If they suddenly move forward and go, no, you're not going to do this anymore. Do you understand?
But as I say, a lot of this is down to the press. And deep cats get thrown on the table left, right, centre. If we take moving on for the outlaw and coming to the UK to try and claim asylum, you can only come by official routes when there isn't bloody any. It's no your fault. It's them coming across in the wee boat stuff.
David, could I just pop up something that Sandra Miller said?
Aye.
Can you just get that? It's just we need to put this right. We need to actually put this right. Right. I hate that bitch Fiona Bruce. I really do. Right?
Right.
But in this circumstance, what she said was she was quoting what someone else had said. Right. Understand that, Sandra. You're not alone. Lots of people have put up this morning. But Fiona Bruce was purely and simply giving you verbatim what someone else had said, right?
Yes, yes.
It wasn't Fiona Bruce that was saying that it was all and all, so it was okay. No, she wasn't. She was purely and simply quoting verbatim what someone else had said. All right.
Anyway, as I say, the Lineker Stussy, what was being hid behind it?
What?
Sunak's trip to France to honour another €500 million money to the French government.
Yeah.
Build a so-called detention centre. With 40,000 people coming across that channel a year now because we've left the EU and the Dublin Agreement is no longer in place, how big a detention centre can you build? Surely it makes more sense to build a processing centre as opposed to a detention centre.
Well, let's see, the Sunderland Stadium of Light, that was 16 million, right? Oh, but that was 1997. What about the Scottish Parliament then? Scottish Parliament was 400 million. So that's pretty big. You get a lot of people in that, right? So let's say if he's hand over $1 billion, that's twice the size of Hollywood.
It's 495 million to build this detention centre. The other $500 million is what they pay the French each year to patrol their shorelines.
Yeah.
To try and stop these people coming across. Of course.
The French must be good. Wait till you hear this one. The Brits have just given us $500 million.
And I'm not getting my boots wet to stop that wee boat.
The thing is, they stand at the top of the beach and watch them all blooming running into the sea with the boat. And then once they're 100 yards, they go, "Come back!"
I would say, but as I say, it's the media that's the problem here. The Tories have absolute control of the media. We've seen that with the BBC at the weekend, where They're claiming it didn't come from Downing Street, but what we do know is it was the Tories that put pressure on the BBC to do what it did.
Yeah, of course it did. Of course it did. You know, I downloaded a wee thing about the CVs of all the top people in the BBC, right?
Aye.
And the Sharp, the guy in charge, my goodness me, he gave 400 million to the 400,000 to the Tory party, right?
Aye.
And then he ended up with he sorted out a loan because of his background. He was part of was it Chase Manhattan he was with originally? I can get it for you, but anyway, then he sorted that out for Boris Johnson, but that then got him the top job as the chairman of the BBC. Get that balloon to fuck. That's it. Sorry, I've just gubbed our advertising.
Stephen Owen on Facebook makes an interesting point. He says, when we talk about waste of money, what about the $5 billion has just been promised to up defence spending? You know, $5 billion.
David, you broke up there, sorry.
Stephen Kelly on Facebook makes a good point. He says, what about the further $5 billion for defence spending when there's no money to pay for public sector workers?
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
But as I say, they have absolute control of the media. Now, the Stushy, or Gary Lineker at the weekend there, that basically kept out in the limelight the fact that Sunak's promising to give more public money to the French to try and stop these boats coming across. Of course, they can't stop the boats coming across. We also know that the immigration bill, the latest malarkey and try to stop these boats is against the law. Simple as that.
Right. Can I just read out? There's a little brief CV for each of the bodies of the top dogs in the BBC, and this will just open a few eyes. Richard Sharp, who's the BBC chairman, former Goldman Sachs banker, where he worked with Rishi Sunak. Okay, under investigation for being appointed to the role by Boris Johnson after securing Johnson an £800,000 loan. A major Tory party donor, 400,000, board member of right-wing think tank, the Centre for Policy Studies. That's the ones that, led by donkeys, highlighted that they're building, right? Okay. And donor to the controversial Killian Foundation. Then you've got Tim Davies, Director General of the BBC, Cambridge-educated former PepsiCo executive. Davies stood as a councillor for the Conservative Party in Hammersmith. He was a former chairman of Hammersmith and Fulham Conservatives in the 1990s. As Director General, he has warned BBC staff to avoid virtue signalling. Robbie Gibb, board member for England, former Tory aide and head communications for Theresa May, brother of Tory MP Nick Gibb, an ardent Brexiteer who said the BBC is culturally captured by the woke, accused by Emily Maitlis after she had left Newsnight of being a Tory agent who had actively influenced editorial policy. And finally, John McAndrew, Director of News, former editorial director and director of news programmes at a right-wing media outlet called GB News. The channel hosts 5 shows presently by Tory MPs and was found guilty by Ofcom of materially misleading the audience during McAndrew's tenure. So what do you think he's going to do to the BBC?
Oh, but that's the plan, isn't it? They're going to wreck it and then privatise it the way they have everything else. But as Alistair says there, it's the British Broadcasting Conservative. It's exactly what it is, you know. It has now become nothing more than a mouthpiece for the government.
Thanks again, Alistair. Yeah.
That was proven at the weekend with the treatment of Lineker. What they didn't expect was a backlash off everybody else. You know,
can I just, this morning, as I do once a year, I have a meeting with my accountant, and we discuss what I potentially owe the British government in terms of corporation tax. And always turns to other things we talk about, this and that, you know. But this morning we had a good chat about Mr. Lineker, and my accountant said, "Oh, do you not know about Lineker? He is busy fighting with HMRC over an IR35 dispute. IR35 was brought about as a system whereby you could bring a guru in, an IT guru in from, say, India, to help get your company's IT system working correctly, right? And the way you would pay them would be under the auspices of IR35, where effectively they would be treated as an employee of your firm for the duration of their stay. And what the HMRC are trying to do with Mr. Lineker and with lots of other of the highlights in the BBC, they're trying to get them pulled under this IR35 rule, whereby if they're doing work for the BBC, they're treated as an employee of the BBC. And then that lends a bit of credibility to people who are going, Gary Lineker did that for tax reasons. He did do it for tax reasons, because effectively by doing that, it put him at war with the BBC and effectively made it look like he's not part of the BBC. Yeah? So there is that. But, however, everything that David and I have done in the last 11, 12 years was pushed into shadow by Mr. Lineker's single tweet. He did more with that single tweet than we've done in 11 or 12 years, I assure you. And, you know, more power to his elbow as far as that's concerned.
And Paul's making a good point. The EU and the US right now are cutting the UK out of any green target deal, and they're actually going to make a free trade deal on component parts for green technology. The UK is not to be included, which further isolates the UK, especially when it comes to manufacturing and the green energy sector.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that came under the radar last week.
Yeah, and that's another good reason for Scotland to be independent, because we are being tarred as a pariah state by being part of the United Kingdom. Right. So let's get this done in a blooming hurry, lads, or lads and lasses. We need independence.
But
Evelyn's asked a wee question. How's it on with my smart meter? They've at last acknowledged that we put them onto a formal complaint. So we're just waiting to see what else happens, Evelyn. Sorry, darling, just to break in there, David.
I know, that's fine. If people want to keep up with these sort of things. So it looks like the EU and the US are going to isolate the UK a wee bit further again and take over the green industry for the West anyway, you know.
Yeah.
No. Dead here.
Aye, dead here. Well, thanks for filling it, Sarah. Yes.
I think you should get me on your show.
We'll come and sit down.
Talk about.
We're talking about the EU and America coming to a free trade agreement on green technologies. I guess that's a no then. Anyway, what else? What else we got? The teachers' strike, of course, as we know, Shona Robertson, the Education Secretary, has managed to settle with the teachers here. And 7,100 junior doctors in England and Wales are on strike. Don't get sick doing that, road people.
No, but they are being told that now, if they go on strike, it will be against the law.
And apparently, Willie is voting for Reagan. Willie, we're not going to get into that. It's a secret ballot. Dave and I
the thing is, I've got to give my sincere condolences to the family of Stephen O'Brien, who went into apoplexy over the weekend, stamping his feet up and down, trying to get us involved in the First Minister's leadership race, and we're not interested.
We're here to report on what the bookies basically have them at, and what the public opinion is. We're not here. We're party members. It's a secret ballot. We're not going to push an agenda onto you guys. It's up to you to decide which contender is the one that you want.
Make your choice.
Preference voting apparently this time runs to the first past the post. So use your preferences whatever way you want, but don't expect David and I to get into it. What we will tell you is where they stand in the public's eye and in the party polling. And then, of course, what the bookies have to say. Apart from that, don't come looking to us for answers, you know. And by the way, I've also had the same Mr. O'Brien ask me to put meat on the bones of what what Kate and Humza's doing. I'm no Kate and I'm no Humza. What I can tell you is that after the Supreme Court ruling, because Scotland is now a colony, they got the idiot Jack to come up this road and tell us we're not a colony and that we do have the right to vote for independence, but only when we reach a threshold that they set for a period of time that they set. So that.
What period of time is that, David? What period of time would that be?
I don't know about the period of time, but I know they said the threshold was 60%.
But they said for a period of time. What is the period of time? You know.
Well, no, yeah, that's why he was so bloody well vague on it.
Well, that's right. We need an ambiguous answer, right? Are we talking like 12 months or 2 days or 15 days or what is the period of time?
What he said was when it polls consistently at 60% that people want a referendum or people want independence. If it's at 60% where people want independence, they know they're one of the host. I'm not going to allow it.
Yeah, but hang on a second, right? Okay, consistently. But, Mr. Jack, what does consistently mean then?
Well, that's what the press didn't ask him. Because
we're talking about consistently over 4 weeks. Are we talking about consistently over 6 months? Are we talking about consistently over 15 or 20 years? What is it, Mr. Jack?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? But
this is the ambiguity that you're always left with Westminster.
Listen, if he's looking for consistent support for all decisions being made in Holyrood, then you'll have to go to the British Social Attitude Study and the Scottish Social Attitude Studies conducted each year. And over the last 3 or 4 years, the majority of Scots want all decisions made in Holyrood. 61% in the latest one. So that's where Mr. Jack's 60%.
But that's not what Mr. Jack said.
No, he says polling, but they don't want accurate polling. They want the sort of polls that are done with the YouGov, Ipsos Mori, that sort of thing. And what was interesting over the weekend there and all was the poll out by Scott Goes Pop, right, on the question of independence. And the strike-wing rag, the Spectator, ran an interesting article at the weekend that says, Sturgeon Step didn't make any difference to Scotland's desire for independence, and it hasn't taken independence off the cards. But
who wrote that, David? Who wrote that? Do you remember?
I can't remember. It was in the Spectator. But the negativity around this leadership race, and we even now one Scottish minister weekend, somebody like a Holyrood, Stephen McLeish or something like that. Anyway, he says Scotland's not ready for independence. But, then with the Stushy and bunch of people battering into me about it and all, I'm going like, there are people who take the long view in the party. Of course there is. So basically Kate and Humza will talk about building support. I take it they're trying to reach Mr. Jack's threshold. As to Ash, every election about a plebiscite election on independence. Well, see, when you do that, what happens is the first time when you fail, people just go, tell us about the issues, the policies, we're not interested in this bit. And that's exactly what the media are trying to do. We've got people in the independence movement right now, and of course we've got the unions who have jumped on board as well, trying to split the movement in all directions. And they try to split the SNP for their own gains. Here's a wee news flash for everybody out there. If the SNP go down, so does the idea of independence, because there's no party riding to the rescue. The Alpha Party isn't even polling. And even the other category, where you get that 4 or 5% of other minor parties, the Alpha Party isn't even polling there. They don't even make it into the reckoning. So while you're all shouting the SNPs are done flush, well, I guess David and I have wasted 25 years of our life and we as well just backing up the game. You know, this rampant negativity. Whoever wins this race, we'll get behind them and we'll push them to give us the result we want. I mean, everybody, have a look at this fortnight since this race part began. We now have Humza in the press this morning saying he's not ruled out a plebiscite election. A snap plebiscite election.
Yeah.
You know, nobody has ruled anything out. They will go with the will of the people as the people will. So what you got to do in order to make these politicians move? Well, it's the will of the people. Politicians only negotiate independence. The people win it.
Yeah.
And if you really, as we've said before, as my friend Marco Ronaldo's been shouting since 2014, you want to show the BAMs in Westminster the will of the people for independence, hold your nose, pay your £12 a year and join the SNP. If you're unemployed or elderly, it's only a £5. Get 2 million party members, there's no argument. Jack can't argue.
That's right.
You know, but people vote for who you want and use your preferences how you want. Just don't ask Dave Knight to get involved in it. We're here to report. We're not here to guide. We're not here to tell you who to vote for. Chris, you've got to go and pick your son up. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Okay. Luckily, on a Monday, my daughter doesn't require picking up until 4 o'clock. So I'm okay. I'm allowed to do this and get away with it.
So don't expect Dave Knight to tell you who you vote for, because it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And we're probably not going to tell you who we vote for. I haven't asked David, and I don't think David. I don't think you've asked me. If you asked me, no, I know you haven't asked me.
No.
So there you have it, folks.
Because I know fine well you're going to vote for Christina Graham.
I'm going to vote for Angus. No. Hey. Anyway, that brings us to the polling. Right. Now, with the Scottish public apparently Kate's favourite, with the SNP members, and there's only been a couple of polls within the SNP members, whom's is a favourite, with Kate's running second in that position. Ash, who everybody, because she's making the right noises, actually thinks would actually do something. She's not even in the running. The bookies have got her at 16-1. You know.
I thought, to be honest with you, I think when you look at Humza and Kate Forbes, they are more well-known figures. They've been seen on TV before, whereas Ash hasn't. She's a relatively a newcomer, right? But there you go. But when all comes to all, who you vote for as the leader of the SNP, if you are an SNP member, is your business. It doesn't matter. And don't give your vote to the candidate who people are shouting for the most, just because they're shouting for it the most. You know, don't vote just because people are being noisy. Actually take your time, look at them, look at what they've said. We've now got 2 hustings that you can look at and see what they said and all the rest of it. Do it like that.
2, I think we're number 5. The last one's a 9.
Do you want to know something? I really haven't been interested. Since I saw that one in the STV, I just went, oh, it's a waste of time.
I can't was the worst of them, but David, I tell you, go to see the 2 before it.
No, I'll bet you this one in Sky tonight's going to be the worst.
Oh, God,
They're building it up. Sky are building it up, and what they're going to do is Sky are going to try and trash it.
Emails are starting to come in for the voting, David.
Yeah.
I'll just put mine on file, and probably in the 22nd I'll make my mind up.
Well, I'm going to print out the 3 faces. I'm dreadful at playing darts. I'll give it that, right? And I'll probably miss them all the first time. But then eventually when I catch the corner of one of them, right, I'll go, that's the one I'm voting for. There you go. How's about that?
Mine is a preference. Instead of a first past the post, we've got a preference vote this time. I think we're going to be 2 rounds. So we'll probably get rid of one candidate in the first round.
Don't tell me I've got to vote twice, have I?
Oh, don't you start. You ain't live in bloody Cornwall. Not another one. Another one. Ah, dear.
Now, just while we're on about having a laugh and a chuckle and enjoying ourselves, David and I are going up to Aberdeen on the 25th of this month. Now, we're going up to. David's had an invite to come and do an audience with David McGuinness up at Aberdeen. Can you tell us what the name of the hotel is, David?
The Alton's Hotel.
Alton's Hotel. A-L-T-O-N-S.
Yeah, A-L-T-E-N-S.
Yeah.
Now, Alton's is an area round about Cove Bay in Aberdeen. That's where the hotel is, Cove Bay in Aberdeen. So if any of you are up there in that area and would like to come along and listen to me and him, then please do. It starts at 2 o'clock on Saturday the 25th at the Alton's Hotel. Right. As far as I know, it's free because, well, you know. So if you were up there and if you're in the Aberdeen area, or if you want to travel up to a nearby area, say Brechin or round about anywhere round about there, as I say, everyone's asking if you're coming to heckle me, David.
Well, that was my idea until he decided he's going to pull me up on the stage. Then I kind of heckle myself, kind of.
How long am I on? Well, that depends, Martin, how many questions there is.
Also depends.
We'll do one in Glasgow at some point.
The most important thing is, so long as there's one person that turns up and it's the right person that needs convincing of whatever, right, then we'll have done our job, you know. But we're hoping that a few turn up. All right.
I have to hold my nose if I'm near the harbour. Phil, as you know, as a truck driver, I spent a lot of time in that harbour. Glasgow East, they have a Glasgow East, they have a fundraiser that night with Pete Scally.
Yeah.
So you can have a look for you guys in the Central Belt. You're away doing in Stranraer if you want to maybe get there eventually. Dave and I have been planning a road trip for years now. It should have happened before now, but COVID got in the road.
Get something organised and invite us, and we'll come and do the same down there. That.
Aye, we're going to put it out on a restream and I don't know. I don't know whether Aberdeen Independence Movement's going to cover it.
Probably yes. Somebody will record it, and then we'll be able to shove it into the thing. I'll maybe give you something on my phone to actually record the thing if I get dragged up on stage. There you go.
Bring a tripod with us, we'll stick a phone on.
Yeah.
Just put it out there. I can't get Restream on my phone. It won't do it, but I think yours is a more modern phone, David, so you probably Restream it.
Nathan, that's just what we're answering. We'll maybe get a tripod or something like that and put the phone on there to record it. So it'll go. And we can now.
Brian's up in Aberdeen, but there's something organised for outside Holyrood that day. That's no bloody inspiring, is it?
Fair enough.
We don't.
David, can I just add here? The reason why we have the ability now to actually put things directly onto YouTube from a humble mobile phone is because you lot became subscribers. And once we got above a certain number of subscribers, YouTube gave us the ability to do that. But if we get more subscribers, they'll give us the ability to do a whole lot more. Yeah. So please, guys, will you subscribe to the channel? And let's see where this takes us. Okay?
Oh, Phil will definitely record that. Somebody will record that. It'll end up out there anyway.
Yeah.
Million stole my spot on the screen. Oh, we're the other way around this. That normally annoys him, actually. I'm surprised they hadn't noticed it today. Because they normally say, hold on, I'll leave the studio and come back in to get on the right side of this.
No, I did it on purpose.
The two Davies Show Scotland tour. As I say, Alison, David and I planned a tour before COVID, and we were starting to ask yes groups if they'd like us to come along and have a chat. But it never took off because COVID got in the first.
Boris heard about it, and what he did was he got the Americans to seed the UK with COVID, so we couldn't come. No, that's it.
The development in COVID is quite interesting, David.
Yeah.
As you know, the House of Representatives earlier have just put a bill on Biden's table to get the information out, because it looks like the Americans actually developed this thing.
Yes.
It's beginning to look like COVID was deliberately seeded into China.
It's patented in America.
That's right. And it would appear the guy behind the research is none other than their Chief Medical Officer, Fauci. And by the way, people, I'm not making this up. As you know, we do tend to do a bit of bloody research here. So the World Health Organization, just in case you don't believe me, jump on the World Health Organization a website, and their pandemic predictor predicts that the next pandemic will be in 2025 out of South America.
Right. Hang on a second. Just whilst we're doing things of that ilk, right? Let's just have a look at the facts. When the pandemic happened, seemingly from Wuhan in China, the first government to be hit was the Iranian government, and who at that time had a bit of a hiccup with Iran? Would that be was it Trump, they call him, who had a bit of a to do with Iran? And do you remember the missile that took out Iran's general? He got taken out by a missile in his vehicle. He had a few vehicles, and they were moving from one place to another, and he got hit. So America spreading the pandemic would be very, very, very likely, because the whole government of Iran ended up with COVID.
This could be a quiet day in Aberdeen. Apparently Scotland are playing at Hampden that day and all.
Oh, shit.
If nothing, we can always batter down to Stonehouse and make a nice fish up on the way home.
Oh, dear. Well, anyway, if you don't fancy the rugby, if you don't fancy going to Holyrood and we're having a march, and you don't fancy doing anything else, we'll be in Aberdeen. How's with that? There you go.
For those of you that can't make it as far as Holyrood or across to Hampden Park in Glasgow, pop along to the Alton's Hotel. We'll be glad to see you.
Awfully glad to see you. Right, anyway.
Brilliant. What else have we got doing for talking about today?
No, that is we had loads to discuss, but I think we have discussed loads. If you look at it,
Aye, more or less. We more or less covered it all through general talk.
Yeah.
Scotland's playing, and Big Bro, and so my young brother and my older brother's going to Scotland, giving pair of traitors. You don't want to come to Aberdeen and see your brother. Yes, to have a march in the 1st of April. Spread the word and let's get. It's in Edinburgh, that one.
Yeah. It's unfortunate being the 1st of April, because you know why.
Oh, and apparently DJ Martin would like to have seen Sarah Fisalvo as the next First Minister. That's who he'd like to see as the next First Minister.
Can I say something?
He get bloody elected first.
No. We both liked Sarah. We thought she was a nice lassie. She did agree with us that anything that she said would still require a vote by the Scottish public, regardless, right? But First Minister, no, I don't believe Sarah would make a good First Minister. She's a very, very good researcher, but being a First Minister, I think you need something more than just knowledge, intelligence, wisdom. You've got to be a leader.
Aye. Well, I don't know. Whatever it is that Salvo's doing, it's always an extra welcome iron in the fire. Having people look at different areas to try and sort out the problems that we're facing with an undemocratic parliament 475 mile or 76 mile from my door. You know, everything helps. Everything helps. Every little helps, you know. What hasn't helped over this last couple of weeks is the sheer negativity in this leadership race.
Yeah.
You know. And Nathan, I've already said, David and I are no interested in running for Holyrood, I can assure you. And having a few people watch me on YouTube doesn't mean I'd make a good First Minister either. Although I would be the one that stood up and say, we're going to do it anyway, you spanners.
That's right.
What we really need is somebody who's going to challenge them.
Yeah.
And at this point, Tim, the only one out of the three who says they're going to challenge them is Mr. Youssef.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what the issue is. When they say no, just say, we need somebody to say, we're going to do it anyway, bugger off.
Yeah.
Simple as that. I don't want to, hold on, we've got Davy FM and Davy Deputy. I just couldn't be bothered doing both roles. You know?
No, it's something I was going to say. In my teenage years, I was in a band, right? But because we were unloading like a lot of money's worth of musical equipment in Easter House, like on a Friday or a Saturday night, and it's like it was decided by our manager that we should actually learn a martial art. So we learned Shotokan. And it was by a wee guy called David, who was a fifth Dan. He taught us. Now, here's the important thing, right? When you're facing up against somebody, right, and you're looking at them eye to eye, right, the best thing to do is spit in their face, because that creates a reaction, right? And because you're doing it, you're in control of the reaction. And you must always look them straight in the eye, because you look them straight in the eye, you're seeing the whole of them, right? The whole thing about being in martial arts is when you take somebody on, it's like you have to be in control of the fight, and that's where David's quite right. Hamza Youssef, if he's prepared to stand against them, he would be taking the initiative.
But as I say, we've got one fight on the go with them now, and two of them said they'd walk away from it because they didn't fancy the policy in the first place.
Yeah.
And if they're not willing to represent a small community like, and stand up for a small community like the trans community, then I'm sorry, folks. When you become First Minister, you've got to represent everybody.
That's right.
Everybody.
Absolutely.
But as I say, we're not here to promote any candidate. We're just talking about general politics. And Sandra Miller, yes, I do have daytime free most of the time. Yes, I don't start till 6 in the evening. But that doesn't mean I want to be an MSP.
You know what? I can assure you, we actually quite enjoy our lives just the way it is, right? And what we've got planned is that after we get independence as a country, then David and I centre in on what's actually happening in Holyrood and who is actually turning it into a miniature Westminster, and those people will be very, very much in our sights.
Yeah, when you first, whoever becomes First Minister can't allow their personal feelings or their morals to interfere with all.
Yeah.
People go, Reverend Jim of Wrestling, you can't have people going around spitting people's eyes, David. But no, it's all about storing up this far and no further. Because this is where we're at with devolution. We're at this point where we're having to see this far and no further. And I'm talking about devolution.
Yeah.
You know, because if people are not going to fight for what we've already got, what's the chance of fighting for more?
Correct. Yeah.
Mary, you can't watch your broadcast for 3 days ago unless you're outside the UK. As we said at the beginning of the programme, it was censored.
Yeah.
It was censored by YouTube.
Yeah. And YouTube were told to pull it down because there were being told it contained copyrighted material, which was the BBC broadcast of the interview showing excerpts of the Channel 4 Dispatches programme. We believe that YouTube will have just reacted to that and went, well, fair enough. But as far as we're concerned, when something is broadcast on BBC, on all our TV screens across the United Kingdom, then that becomes part of, that's just the public, in the public domain. Yeah. So therefore,
Phil says, a lot of people start work well with Stephen, can we not make it later? No, sorry, I work in the evenings. And Phil also says, in YouTube, take 30% of super chats. Can you make a PayPal instead? We're looking into PayPal so that people have options on how to do it.
Phil, I was talking to my accountant about that this morning, and he said that there may be ways. I did say to him about the 30%, which is ridiculous. I've written back to YouTube on that, and said, you know, how can you justify that? But there you go. So my accountant maybe come back to us with something positive. You never know.
Aye, that same actor did the series of Light, right? Apparently the US government just approved the Alaska Willow oil project. Yeah. Fossil fuels are still being used at a massive rate.
Yeah.
And Alistair says what the YouTube did was wrong because it was fair usage, David.
Yeah.
Got to remember though, because it was broadcast in the BBC, it's a public service broadcaster, so everything they put out in the public domain, and it's already paid for by the public.
That's right. Yeah. But as we've seen with the BBC, policy with the BBC is what they say is today, not last week, not the week before, because the week before they said something completely different, didn't they?
You're right, ginger giraffes. No, no more oil drilling. You're absolutely right, there shouldn't be. Okay, being limited by social media is that's what happens in fascist states.
Yeah.
And this is a fascist state now, folks.
Yeah, a fascist government will do everything they can to control the narrative, to control any information that goes out. We saw it way back at the beginning of Boris's ascension to the throne, where a pile of broadcasters and hacks were actually lined up in the reception of number 10, and they went through them, and they chose one or two of them to go through actually in to talk to the Prime Minister. The rest of them were sent out. That was the beginning. We should have seen it at that time. That was the beginning of a fascist government coming into operation, of choosing who they would have as their mouthpieces.
And also see, this one came out last week and all, it was front page on the Daily Field in England, because it gives a lot of red meat to the gammons. Apparently every time a Scottish MSP or MP goes to visit another country now, they're to be shadowed by a Home Office official.
Spot the guy in a ninja suit at the back.
And if they openly discuss independence with any of these states, they're to be shut down by that British diplomat.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I'd like to see that working. I'm sitting in a wee place in Spain talking to a politician. Next thing they're talking about independence. Next thing the British diplomat tells them, you know how to say it, talk about independence. You know what happens there, didn't you? The British diplomat ends up with a pint of his heat and gel to go piss off.
Oh, that would be lovely to see. They are running scared, but the problem is that the just for the moment, until we get this leadership process out the way, they've got us over a barrel temporarily, right? And seriously, guys, just suck it up at the moment. It will get better. Things will get better in the future. I promise you that. Even if I've got to get out, and get in the back and push, that's it. It will get better.
And apparently David Duggan MP has been getting a doing after Westminster people for wanting to drag Scotland out of the UK when they dragged Scotland out of Europe. Wow. Hey. Aye, listen, listen, the UK is now, they're trying to be nice about it, calling an authoritarian state. No, it's a fascist state. And every time you pick up a paper, there's another dead cat on the table. Or look over there, there's a squirrel. You know, it's nuts. And that's what the Lineker thing was all about, as I say. It's just another diversion. Take people's mind off the fact they can't heat their houses or feed themselves.
Is there anything decent come out on Facebook, David? You can see the Facebook one.
Being an MSP now looks like a gravy train when they sit back and accept this Tory government's policies and show no forward thinking regarding independence. And after 8 mandates, we are no further forward. I love all these people who are screaming, well, no further forward, no further forward. And we know, in 2014, we started off at 28% in the polls. We're now sitting roughly 50-50 or just above. Social attitude studies have shown consistent growth in belief that Holyrood is where all the power in Scotland should sit. If you think we're not making any progress, wow. Absolute mental. As for your 8 mandates, if you've got a partner in the union who is absolutely ignoring you altogether and delegitimising your voice, then see there, sit there and scream, we're no moving, we're no moving, we're no moving. Come up with a bloody idea to sort it. A legal idea to sort it. Well, see the piss I've taken this weekend or this leadership race. And have to keep repeating myself, I'm not telling you who to vote for. Wow. We're here to report on things people were not here to advise us on. Unless it's something like the electricity bill. And we want to start a campaign. And that's another thing. Paul's right. No further forward. Tell that to the 72% of Bairns that vote who poll consistently for yes. In 2014, we couldn't even get the Bairns out their bed to the polling bloody station. So that's mere progress.
But if we ever do have a plebiscite in the future, we must, each one of us, if you have children or you have your other family members who have children, you've got to put pressure on to make sure that if they are of voting age, that they get out and actually vote. Because the chances are, if they are like 16, 17 years of age, 18, that they are pro-independence. They do want to see Scotland being an independent country.
Xander's making a point there that on Facebook right now, a lot of the chat's not visible because I haven't made it public yet. Because Meta is restricting my reach. And this goes out on my Facebook page. And Meta's been restricting my reach for a long time now.
That's the reason for the YouTube channel, guys.
Why we started.
And I have to say, if you're still on Facebook and you do want to see us, then I do suggest a move, a migration across to YouTube. It's dead easy. We put out enough links for you to be able to do that. Just come in and subscribe, and then if you give your email address, it'll send you a notification anytime we're going on air. Okay.
And the other thing is, Davies saying the only people who've got a voice here is who the Tory press decides got a voice. That's very true. That's very true. I mean, at this point in time, this fascist government has got complete control of the media. Complete control of the media. We were talking about the heads of the BBC earlier in the broadcast. You know. Right, David, that's our round.
Yes.
So, folks, I hope you found that interesting. I hope you found it informative. And thanks very much for your active participation in the chat on both Facebook and on YouTube. Now, if you're on YouTube, smash the like button. It helps the channel. Subscribe if you've not already subscribed. That helps the channel too.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for your donations. See, once again, David and I will be up in Aberdeen on the 25th of the Almonds Hotel from 2 o'clock onwards for a live audience, where we'll take questions. And if we can answer them, we will. If we can't, we can't. If you're going to share this video, if you're on YouTube and you're sharing this video, share away right now. If you're on Facebook and you're going to share this video, when we come off air, give me a couple of minutes to change it to public. And over to you, David.
Sir, what's the lottery numbers this week?
Oh, 5, 11, 67, 944,022,000. Have you got all that?
944,022. Right, okay, right, fine. So anyway, all I've got to say,
Calvin Media's got a fundraiser on the go. The Broadcast of Scotland got a fundraiser on the go. We've all got fundraisers on the go. Jefferson says yours is going to charity, theirs is going to keep their channels alive. Thanks very much, guys, once again, for joining us and your massive numbers. There is at the peak there was 203 watching live across the 2 platforms. At the moment there's 176 watching live. That's a good audience. That's a small theatre full. So thank you very much. Of course, if you do like the opinions that we spread or the information that we disseminate, then please do share it around. And for our continental viewers or our worldwide viewers, thanks very much for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to have you with us.
Yes.
Anything else?
Can't think of anything else. No. All that just leaves me to say one thing.
Aye.
Bye, Davey.
Bye, Davey.
Bye, guys.